So we are at the Coach Connect webinar, so we might as well get into the coaching side of things. So to Rowan first again, how did you get into coaching? So we know your background in paddling, but how did you start actually coaching? Was it really organic, or did you always want to coach, or did you just find as you got more involved, you coached more?
No, I didn't. I don't know if I really got. I was kind of thrown into it through the Goya gang again, where I started. And we used to run these sessions for like kids throughout the summer, and I would have been about fifth or sixth year in school. And I used to take the younger kids on a session, an hour every week. They would have been around 7 to 10, so I had the smallies. I just kind of used to help out with them because I don't know, is it that no one else wanted to take it, or it was just me to keep them entertained and kind of get them into the sport. So that's when I would have started coaching. And then I kind of really got into it once I started in college, in the club in college. I would have been helping people then. I kind of was thinking more about my coaching as actually coaching. That's when I felt like I was teaching people properly. So that's how I kind of really got into it. It was through the Goya gang originally, and then college really kicked it up a notch.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, I kind of similar to myself. I never coached a lot until I got to college, and then there was a social side to it that it was like, I'm not just going to hang around and sit here and pretend that I'm better than anyone and just start going like just sharing a bit of knowledge and coaching like that. Same for you, Clea. So how did you kind of get into the coaching side of things?
Yeah, I think quite similar. A lot of it was like really informal to start. We'd just be paddling on the water, like doing slalom, and we'd just be like giving each other like tips and things that you think people could do better. And then we go out every Wednesday at the club, and then slowly like more and more people started joining us. So then we'd be like introducing them to the sport and giving them like tips and stuff. So that's how I really started. And then at Scouts, we like brought up a group who like we're really improving, so we were introducing them to different disciplines, and we started coaching them a lot. So that's how I really started.
Okay, brilliant. And Holly, from the polo corner, how did you kind of get into coaching?
I think I'll differ from both of these guys, but my mom actually was running the coaching course for polo because it's such a niche sport. There wasn't actually a polo course for coaching. And so she needed people in order to do the course to see if it actually worked. So that's how I actually got my coaching qualification. And then I began to coach in Mullingar. And I think that's what really kind of kept me there, was just kind of seeing how much of a difference I can make to a group of children after 2 weeks of them not knowing what a boat and a canal is. And then after that, they can do laps up the pitch and dribble and all. So I think it was just the learning aspect for me was what kept me in coaching.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, that leads us on to the next question I was going to ask is, so you were saying you really enjoy like the impact it would be having on a group of kids who wouldn't know anything about the sport. So what do you enjoy most about coaching? Like, is it seeing people getting enjoyment, or is it just sharing your knowledge, or what's the part you really enjoy most?
For me, anyway, what I love seeing is like their progression over time. Like in college, I see it a lot, is like people coming to us who have no experience at all. And then, 2 weeks later, they're a completely different person. They're much happier in the water. They're able to paddle up and down, they're like more confident. And then for the surfing, it's tend to be people who already have their kind of basic skills of kayaking. But then you still see that progression, like they're coming to me when they're surfing, like for them, it's just surfing in the whitewash is what most people think surfing is, and then learning that for the competitions and stuff that you need to surf the green and kind of like doing turns and things like that, that they learn how to do that, and like most people pick it up quite quickly. And I just love teaching people with that for the surfing. It's because like it's a small community. It's great to see even anyone getting into it, even if it's only for a few hours or coming to a competition or anything like that. It's just great to see new people and new faces. And for surfing anyway, that's why I would coach surfing, would be to see new faces coming and introducing someone into the sport.
I suppose as good a reason as anybody could probably give to coach. Cleo, for yourself as well. So what do you like? What's your biggest pleasure from coaching?
Yeah, well, to start, like I love just like sharing the sport with other people and then just seeing their enjoyment that they get out of it. And when people like just like getting them to achieve, like when they achieve something that they didn't think they could do, or just like the small little steps to improving, just like seeing like kids' faces light up and stuff when they do something that they didn't think they could do before, I think is just such a nice moment. So
That, yeah, I think you definitely have a higher calling in coaching than I do anyway. Holly, to follow, if you want to follow that one, what's your what's your
It's
coaching?
going to be a hard one to follow. I suppose my what I want their experience to be is quite similar to the other two. I want to see their progression over time and them to have fun in the sport and kind of stick with it and to get more awareness of the sport, because each discipline of kayaking is so niche. You know, people might know kayaking, but they don't know that there's so many different disciplines to it. I suppose one of the major things that kind of got me wanting to say like this is what I want to do, I want to coach, is because I used to be so afraid when I started kayaking of the water. I would come off the water screaming, crying every session. I was so afraid of the water, and then over time I eventually got over that fear, and I was like, the water isn't going to swallow me alive, and it's fine, and all of this. But I think I remember that for a while. I remember that experience of being afraid, and I suppose in a way it kind of holds me back today. And what I want their experience, I don't want them to have the same experience as me, and so I want to try and get them to not be afraid of the water and to actually be quite comfortable and to be able to just have fun and not worry about anything.
I suppose to follow straight up on that, Holly, if having had that experience when you were younger, what kind of environment do you try and create now if you're coaching someone who you might see have the same kind of problem?
I suppose I try and help them understand that kind of the water, like it's just there. You're floating on top of it. Like there's not much it can do to you. So we try and have a fun session where we'll probably at the end of the session we'll get them to run across the boats and try and if they fall into the water, which is kind of inevitable, but they don't know that. And so it's trying to get the comfortability up, but without them knowing. Because I feel like if you try to force it on them, that's like if you keep on saying to a child, the water isn't going to hurt you, but you don't show them how the water is safe for them, they're never going to learn.
Yeah, brilliant. Anyway, I nearly wish you were coaching me when I was 12 and somebody was like trying to teach me the role, and I was just like, no.
To be honest, I wish I was coaching me too.
You're making a big endorsement of your own coaching here. Your dream coach is same question to Rowan. How what kind of coaching environment do you try to create, especially in a more unpredictable environment that is the sea?
Yeah. So the surf, like it can be quite scary for a lot of people, and I always try and get away from, like, you always find a lot of people that they really push that, oh, don't swim, like, you know, it's that kind of negative environment. But I try to push away from that. Like when I first started, I would swim every single competition, and there was never, everyone was always so nice about it. Like, you know, they just help you get in your boat, and like you just get back in and you start surfing, and it would be great. And I try and bring that into my coaching, and like I try to just show people that like you're in the surf, like if you swim, your boat's going to be in the sand, it's going to go in by itself, it'll be fine. There's always people out with you, all they have to do is bring you back in. You're just like, you know, if you swim, I know it can be scary, like I know, but like the worst thing that'll happen is that you'll swim, your boat and gear, everything's going to be waiting for you on the sand. So like I try to enforce that, like kind of, you know, make people realize that like the water, like it can be dangerous. I'm not trying to say it's not, but that it can be a safe place too, if you have the right group of people and the conditions are nice. And I try to bring that into my coaching anyway, to enforce that kind of comfortability so they can try new things and kind of push themselves a little bit.
Fantastic, yeah. So Cleo of the many disciplines, before your the coaching environment you try and create, do you have a favorite discipline to coach, or one that you'd like, if you could only coach that from now on, where would you go?
I'd probably pick slalom because I think it's one of the most like complex ones that I do anyway. So I think like it's probably the hardest to coach. So I think it's like the most rewarding when you're teaching and when you see people like get something that they've been like trying to do for ages. And as well as like Holly was saying, like it can be really scary, like trying new things and especially on like courses and stuff. So just trying to create that environment that people are like confident in paddling and like are like happy to try something new, I think is what I like always try to do the most. Like the people will like try stuff that they don't think they can do and aren't afraid to like get it wrong, I think is like what I like to like have on the water. Because if people aren't like wanting to try new things, then like I just think it's not a great space that you've created.
Perfect, yeah. So I suppose with this being the future panel and you all being a lot younger and much earlier on the coaching journey, have you ever found age to be a barrier? That if you were maybe peer coaching or coaching somebody even younger, but who maybe due to your age wasn't responding well to coaching, have you ever found that at all?
I sometimes anyway, I do feel a little bit that, um, especially when I was younger, teaching people who would have been the same age or sometimes older. It's kind of hard to, people to realize that, I actually have a bit of experience. I know what I'm talking about, kind of thing. That I'm not just kind of talking out my arse. Like I know, like I'm trying to help you and like just kind of help people forward. But like normally I don't find age too much of an issue. Like usually people are quite responsive to me coaching. Like they seem to think I know what I'm doing anyway.
Which is great. Like you want
Yeah.
people to be looking at experience level and how much knowledge they have as opposed to age.
Mhm.
Same for you, Cleo, because you probably coach a lot with scouts in college, where it would be a lot of kind of peer coaching people of a similar age. Have you found any issues with that?
Yeah, I'm lucky as well, like as Ren said, that I haven't had much of an issue with it in the past. But definitely sometimes, like I have been coaching people who are a good bit older than me. And in college, because like I just came in as like a first year now, like a lot of people see you as just like a fresher who can't really paddle. And just trying to like get over that and be like, oh, I actually have been paddling for ages. And trying to get people to like see that like you do know what you're talking about. It's hard, but I think once you like just like really just build a relationship with people and talk to them at the beginning and like explain your background and stuff, it really hasn't been much of a problem. But yeah, it definitely can be a struggle at the beginning. But once you like talk to them and show them that you do kind of know what you're talking about, it has helped.
Perfect. And Holly, same question. I suppose coming from polo as well, being a team sport, you have a lot of team dynamics in there. It's potentially even harder to juggle again. Have you had any issues with that?
Um, I suppose like I coach very young children, so it's and anybody looks older for young children. But I suppose I've tried to teach people who are the same age as me and older, and I've noticed the difficulties in it because it's, as Rowan said and Cleo said, it's almost like they're basing your skill level with your age, and there's no kind of, if you're young you can have the skill. It's kind of someone older is going to have more skill than you, even though they could have no idea what to do when coaching. And I suppose it's just trying to get over that and trying to get over people's egos as well. I suppose being a team sport, it's a bit easier because if you get through to most of the team, then they'll kind of just tell the last one to just shut up, just stop saying anything, she's teaching us something, and we're getting somewhere with it. Especially when you're playing a match and you're coaching them on the sideline and they're losing, and then you'll tell them to do something and then they get a goal, and then it's like, oh, look, she taught us to do something, this is magical. So that's kind of really great for my own ego as well, because it's the magic goal person. But I suppose it's instilling that trust in them that if you listen to me, you can achieve something. And I'm not, as Rowan said, I'm not just talking through my art. I know different ways of coaching you. I know what works in the sport because I've been playing it as well as coaching it for a long time.
I suppose, yeah, and it's something I've tackled as well, because in having spent so long in slalom, we train by ourselves so much that it's constant. There's constant peer coaching, that we're always coaching each other. So it's something that you can just grow into and kind of learn. Well, I can't say it that way, or he's going to get upset about it. I can't just say it was rubbish. I have to say why it was rubbish, and ease them into it. But I suppose coming at it from that we're all, we're all athletes, and we all compete in these disciplines as well. And have you found that coaching in the discipline has helped you in your own career at all? That I know I've in my casual coaching, sometimes I'll be telling somebody, oh, try doing it this way, and they'll be, maybe I should try it that way as well. That actually sounds like a good idea. Like, have you found that your own explanation and your own kind of understanding from coaching and coaching people has helped you learn yourself?
I have anyway. I definitely, like, it's things like someone will ask you, oh, how do you do this turn? And I have to kind of stop and think, actually, I don't know how to put this into words, and I have to think about it. And then me thinking about it, like going through doing it myself, it makes me think more about what I'm doing. I'm more in my head thinking about why I'm doing it, when I'm doing it. And that only came about because someone asked the question, how to do it. For me, before I wasn't even thinking, I was just doing it. And I find that really helped. Like, I have learned a lot from it, that it just kind of got me to think about my own paddling, and so I'm able to, explain it to other people. And in that way, I have, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant answer. Cleo, exact same thing. Have you found that for slalom or wild water or any of the all the disciplines you take part in?
Yeah, like it's hugely as well. Just once you start explaining stuff to someone else, you realize like, oh, I just said like flatten your edges, and then you're like, oh wait, I do not do that, but I should do it. Stuff like that has like really helped. But what I found the most, which has helped my own paddling and competing, is like trying to show the skill of people to like being able to review it themselves. Like when you ask like a paddler, oh, like what do you think went well there, or like what do you think was wrong that you didn't get the move, then when they're able to like explain it back and they figure it out, I think by getting other people to do that, I became much better at doing it myself, because I did really struggle with it a lot, especially when I was younger. Like coaches would ask me like, oh, what do you think went wrong? And I'd be like, I don't know, like I just don't know how to do it. But now, like from helping other people with that skill, it's hugely helped myself to like review and realize, okay, if I do it this way, like that will work. So yeah, I think that's a huge benefit of helping others.
Very good. And Holly, I suppose same question for you, but you have all the technical skills of polo as well as tactics and team dynamics. Have you found that coaching and navigating all those scenarios have helped you as an athlete?
Definitely, especially when you're coaching, you can see the problems that someone else is making, and you can point them out, and you can help them, and you can show them how to do it a different way, and then you can see them progress over time. And with tactics as well, you can see what went wrong, like what was the weakness, what was good, what was bad. So I think it's helped me in my own kind of analysis of how I do my skills and tactics now, kind of where if I'm struggling to shoot from a certain distance or my tactics are bad in the game, I'll actually video myself doing that, and then look at the video and say to myself, what am I doing wrong, as if I'm coaching myself as if I would a child. And I suppose it's just kind of getting into that kind of headset where I think some people who think that they're better than everybody else and don't want to listen to a coach and have never coached in their life, they won't take on advice, and it's quite hard to teach them something new because they already know everything. But I think coaches are a lot more open to knowing what they're doing wrong, because they're constantly telling other people this is how to improve. And I think it's a bit hypocritical, and I've never met a coach who's not willing to say this is how you need to improve on themselves, you know.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it's fantastic you've seen that as well in other coaches. Is definitely a good marker of coaching as helpful to an athlete. So mostly a question for Rowan and Cleo. You've both gone through the Canoeing Ireland instructor training. How do you feel that has helped you as a coach? And are there learnings from that course that you've applied to your coaching?
Yeah, like kind of like coach, like kind of session planning, especially because like a lot of the time I'd go into it, just get on the water and just go for an hour session and not have a plan, kind of just kind of do what people are, what people are feeling, which is fine for a once-off session. But like if you're in college, you have, people are coming every week. You can't just do the same thing over and over again. So you kind of have to plan out your sessions, as I learned from taking part of that course. And then for other things like the kind of in like having to log your hours, you have to do a lot of things with other coaches, and it's seeing what other coaches are doing. I found great, like you kind of pull bits I like I liked how he did that or she did that good in her coaching, so I try to bring that into my coaching as well. And I would learn that from the coach course, because you have to log your hours, you have to get other coaches to do it for you. So yeah, that in that way, yeah, I would.
Deadly, yeah. And
Yeah.
Cleo, same for you.
Yeah, I found a huge part of the instructor training, which has helped my coaching, is like group management. And if you get on the water with like a bigger group of like people you're helping, like it can really help you like getting people to do different things. And then as well, I went on to my level 3 instructor training, was just like when you have a group who are like really mixed abilities, just like trying to like tailoring your activity to suit everyone. That like some people are just like ferry gliding on the lower sections, and other people are like trying to go in and do like a spin in the flow or like ferry glide backwards. Just being able to like have something for everyone in your one session. That's what I found hugely helped. And then as Rowan was saying, the logging the hours with other instructors is like hugely beneficial, because like as well as learning and picking up great tips for different ways to teach things, which I think is like really good, because like everyone learns differently, and if you're able to have like a few different ways of explaining one thing, it can make it so much easier. But also I find it really great for seeing ways that I'm like, I will never teach it that way and stuff. Like sometimes you just see stuff and you're like, oh my god. And then you might realize like, oh, I think I might have done that in the past, but because you're saying it yourself, I don't think you don't realize like, okay, this isn't a good way until you actually see someone else do it, which I think I found like hugely helpful and like has really brought on my coaching skills. So yeah, I would say it's hugely beneficial.
So I suppose it's about kind of what I learned from the courses was just the team management, because polo is a team sport. So I don't know how many youth would be coaching at one time, but for polo, there would at least have to be 5 on a team. So sometimes I could be at a session and I could have 9 people and just barely enough to make 2 teams. Sometimes I could be at a session and I'd have 30 people, and then it's a roller coaster to try and get something that everything like to keep everybody interested, but also to teach them something new every time they come down. And it's just, that's kind of what I learned, was just planning it. Like I think for every single week when we went down to coaching, we had a laminate sheet of a plan of our session stuck to the front of our boats with duct tape. And I'd have my watch on and I'd be elements that I really stuck on.
So we're probably coming towards the wrapping up stages, but that was really interesting, Holly, just with the difference between the coaching requirements for polo and a lot of other disciplines, with it being a team discipline, and even just the quantity of people you may be coaching. But before we say goodbye, I suppose, being people who are relatively early in your coaching journey, what advice would you give for people who are thinking about taking their first steps into coaching, or who maybe haven't thought about it and maybe should be taking their first steps into coaching?
I think just not to be afraid of it. Like you might as well just jump in and do it. Like if you have experience, you should try and share it with other people. And it's, if it might be something small, but it will still be better than you kind of sitting back and not doing anything about it. I think if you know you know, if you know something, you might as well share it with other people. I think that's what I would advise people to do.
Yeah, I'd be hugely similar to Rowan, but like one thing I'd say is like you have the skills, like you're able to paddle, so it's just really just trying to put it into words. And sure, if every time you try put it into words, like it will get a little bit better each time. So just keep giving it a go. And if you can make like one small difference to one person's paddling, like that's such a big achievement in itself. So just yeah, just always give it like try. There's no harm in trying.
Yeah, I think that's a great message. I mean, if you never try, you don't know. You might as well try coaching once, and if you don't like it, then say no. But don't never try it. Holly, same for you. What would you what would you say for someone who's considering taking their first step?
I suppose one of the major things I'd say is that there's no age limit to coach. As long as you want to learn the skills in order to coach, then there shouldn't be a limit for you to do what you want to do. And as well, kind of, if you look around in your sport and you think, geez, there's nobody doing this, nobody knows about what this is, then just think to yourself, don't think that, think, I have the ability to change this because I can tell people about this sport. I can actually teach them how to play this sport. I suppose that's one of the things for me is kind of constantly looking around and saying to myself, these children could be future polo players and playing for Ireland, you know, like they might never get to that stage, but they could possibly, and it's giving them that opportunity.
I think I think I would agree with you an awful lot, Holly. That not to be selfish with your knowledge. That I know paddling slalom, like I know how good I feel and how happy it makes me if I finally get something right, and if I can help somebody get a little bit of that feeling, that'll probably be that'll be good. Not to be selfish with your knowledge. But that is fantastic, guys. Like there's so much great stuff that's come out of there. Even just in the last 2 minutes of why people should start has been brilliant. So massive thank you to the three of us, to Rowan, Cleo, and Holly for chatting to us about their coaching journey. And I hope